Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim Matthews.
Oh,
Tim,
come
today
off
we
it.
got some questions we're going to take from the Facebook group, and I think you have one from Aaron that you want to throw out there on the table.
I'm curious, why have you changed the amazing intro you do?
It's just time for a change, Tim. I'm a guy who actually
Uh,
relishes change.
okay, interesting. Um, it's important to change the right things. Anyway, so one of the guys in the Facebook group, his name is Aaron. So Aaron's question here is last week it became apparent in our group. So a bit of backstory: Aaron is doing the activation method. Um, Last week it became apparent in our group that a number of our wives have residual trauma, maybe not the perfect word, from their childhoods or sometime before we were together. Anyways, I feel ill equipped to support, understand, empathize how this impacts them. Maybe how to change their story or beliefs about themselves that this experience imprinted on who they believe they are. For me personally, my inability to help her through this has been a significant contributor to the shame and guilt that I've held about our relationship. I'd love your guidance on this topic. Um, can I go first?
Yeah, please do.
So there's two main things that stand out to me with this. One is he says he feels ill-equipped to support, understand, empathize how this impacts them. Honestly, Aaron, you are ill-equipped to support. No offense, but it takes a professional, to be honest, or somebody that's qualified per se. And then, second of all, the second thing that stands out to me is this is my inability to help her through this has been a significant contributor to the shame and guilt that I've held about our relationship. So look, you've drawn definitions about you. Oh, sorry, you've drawn things about yourself, conclusions about yourself that are very inaccurate. It's kind of like walking onto the football pitch for you guys in the US soccer pitch. It's like walking onto the soccer pitch and walking out in the World Cup final with some of the best teams and wondering, hang on a minute, why am I getting run all over the place here? Why can't I keep up with Messi? Why is Messi? He keeps megging me. He keeps, why is that? Because you're just nowhere near the standard. It's nothing against you. It's just these guys are professionals. If you then walk away from that game thinking, "Oh my god, I suck. I'm just a bad person," and you feel guilty and ashamed because of that, even the idea of that sounds crazy, right? You're like, well, Aaron, don't be ashamed. I mean, you just walked into the pitch. You're out of your league. You're out of your depth. Of course, that was going to happen. And to that point, the shame and the guilt that you've experienced, I think it's very easy when you're in a relationship to mistakenly think that your happiness is dependent upon the other person's happiness and vice versa. And what you can then start to do is almost without knowing it, entering into a codependent relationship. And then what happens is you contrive a lot of your masculinity or success as a man, quote unquote, around whether your wife is happy or not. And the reality is, she is responsible for her own happiness. Equally, you are responsible for your own happiness. And having that agreement in place between you guys and having another agreement that might be that you both take responsibility to bring your best selves to the relationship, that by default then means that, like I said, not only is your wife not responsible for your happiness, so i.e., let's say that she isn't having as much sex with you as you may like. Well, if you start sulking about that like a teenager, then you're kind of putting some of your happiness on her, right? Whereas you can still draw a boundary with that and have a clear agreement in place with that, yet also not become a teenager. Equally, if your wife has got childhood trauma or whatever it is, like you're saying here, and she is in pain and she has her own process to maybe go through, then, you cannot put it on you if you can't shift her mood. right? She is responsible. You can still empathize, you can still be there, you can still support, but you're not responsible for her happiness. So, just like the football analogy and walking on that pitch, drawing that conclusion of shame and guilt and that you are less of a man, quote unquote, because you cannot make your wife happy is a false narrative. And one that by default, the more you tell yourself, then puts you into gear and it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. Because the things that you could do to influence her happiness by showing up to the relationship in a certain way, right? You then stop doing, which then probably further fuel her insecurities and probably further fuel her fears and concerns, right? And the thing you're trying to avoid then becomes the thing you're creating. Um, and yeah, you're just not qualified, honestly, to venture into this space with her and guide her through it. And honestly, even if you was qualified, you're not the person to do it anyway. That isn't the role that you get to play in your relationship with your wife.
100%. And Aaron, I can tell you, I've tried to do it with my wife. It doesn't work out when you try to coach or your wife. And you guys as business owners know, if sometimes we can fall into the role at times of our lives of trying to treat our partners as employees, right? Or as business partners rather than our life partner. And that just backfires real quickly. And Tim, I think you're spot on with all these. And Aaron, I want to give you a shout out just for one, raising your hand and stepping up and joining the activation method. It's not an easy thing to do, right? There's a time commitment, there's a capital commitment, but more importantly, it's really a commitment to yourself that's hard for most people to make because you're saying, hey, I'm going to step up. And that's a tough thing to do, man. So hats off to you. And for this question, I think it's good. What I'll add on to what Tim is saying here is, Aaron, you want to encourage your wife in a loving way to join a program like The Powerful Man, but for women, or to get a coach, probably a female coach, to work with her. Now, we've been working on The Powerful Woman for quite some time. Quite frankly, we've got such demand for the activation method and our other programs that the bandwidth isn't there. We have the coaching, the staff, and the women that do so. And as everybody knows that listens to my podcast, what my wife does, besides take care of our kids and take care of me, is she coaches women. She coaches married women through these things. And what she would say here is, the best way to introduce this, she's produced a video, right, for guys in the brotherhood to pass off to their wives, because this topic comes up so much. But she would talk about being there and being that listening ear. And you talk about empathizing here. And then sharing with her what you're learning. And then asking your wife, hey, is this something you would like to explore? And it doesn't have to be through my wife or through the Powerful Man's programs when we develop the Powerful Woman. Again, we don't release anything until it's perfect. So it doesn't have to be that, but it could be other programs that are out there. I don't know of any other ones that are great. That's why we're developing our own transparently, because we want something to solve this issue for the men, but also their significant others, like in your case. But having a program that she can go through, a coaching environment, especially a small group coaching environment, or a private coach that can really guide her through some of these things. That's, as Tim said, that's not you. That's outside of her traditional box. So she feels that she can really open up and share, is usually the first step to her healing, right? That's really it. And that shows her two things. One is you care. You may not be able to empathize, understand, and support, but it shows you care. You care enough to say, hey, look, I see that you're hurting and I want to help you. And I don't want to help you by telling you what to do. I don't want to help you by telling you what I think, but I want to help you by supporting you that you find your own path, your own journey. Here are a couple things that other men have done, right? And that's typically a way a lot of guys in the brotherhood who have passed off to their wives who end up working with my wife as an example. But there's other coaches that are out there. I'm not trying to push that at all, or whatsoever. So these are ways that you can do that. These are ways that you can provide a listening ear and let her know that you're her rock, you're her lighthouse. Feminine energy will attack you, right? And the key with feminine energy is to be the masculine energy and say, okay, I love you. She attacks again. I still love you. I'm not going anywhere. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. I love you. I'm not going where. And then the inner child within her that's damaged and hurt clearly from your post, right? It's a common thing. The inner child within her eventually surrenders and says, you know what? He's not going anywhere. And then she's able to slip into that feminine nature that we all know. And that's how you support her, right? That's how you allow her to be there. What happens is a lot of us, when our wives attack us, we get defensive. We go into deer mode, right? Deer, defensive, right? We explain, we excuse, and we react. And then the inner child that's within inside of her, the little girl, isn't stable. And we're starting to say, hell, I don't want to put up with this crap. I can go bang my secretary, or this girl over at the gym would love to be with me and she'd treat me so much better. What you're telling your wife and your partner subconsciously is that you are not stable. You're not the lighthouse. You're not the lighthouse you pretend to be. Being the lighthouse means I'm here. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. She attacks you again. I'm here. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. She attacks you again. I'm here. I love you and I'm not going anywhere. Again and again. And eventually, it's just like the waves crashing against the rocks. You're going to give in, right? The lighthouse is standing. Lighthouse is not moving. And you want to be the lighthouse in this situation, Aaron, and the rest of you guys. And that's the key. Now you can offer her support. You can say, hey, look, this is something other men's wives have done. Is that something you're interested in exploring? If it is, I can do an introduction. I can get you an introduction to Doug's wife, or I can get you an introduction to this program, or the Powerful Man program I'm going through is launching a powerful woman. I can reach out to Tim and find out more information because you're in the activation method, right? You can get that information from Tim. Right? These are things that you have that showcase your resourcefulness, but you're not trying to solve her problem. You're just basically saying, I love you. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Here are some things that other people have done. If this interests you, I'll see if I can do an introduction and let you take it from there. And it's a really good way of showing support. And like Tim said, you're not in a position to be that person for your partner. What your job is, if it's a job, is to be their rock, be their lighthouse, and let them know that they are safe and that you're going to be there as they go through and unpack this trauma, the scary stuff, right? That they probably really don't want to show you, because if they show it to you, then you might leave and you might judge them and, oh, what's going to happen, right? They don't even know how to control it. So how are you going to control it? But if you show them that, hey, I'm here and we can unpack this thing together, and we can make this scary adventure, somewhat fun together, or at least supportive. That's the kind of marriage that we all want, right? That's the kind of marriage we all signed up for. And Aaron, you're at the position where you can lead that charge. You can be the alpha wolf in this rather than the deer. So, man, like I said, hats off to you for joining the activation method. That just shows me your dedication, your courage, your willingness to put in the work. And you went into the Facebook group and posted this question for Tim and I, which just shows me the character and the kind of man that you are. And I have nothing but respect for you.
Yeah, likewise.
So, gentlemen, if you're like Aaron, you find yourself in that situation, guys, be that lighthouse, right? Be that lighthouse. And, if you got questions, post them there. We have a post there just for the podcast, and we're going to do our best to work through. And there's more than we're probably going to get to, but throw your post on there, guys, right? Don't live a life of quiet desperation. You don't have to. Doing so is not courageous. It's actually a sign of weakness, right? Courageous is raising your hand and saying, hey, look, I can use some little help here. Or I'm curious about this. I'd love some guidance, just like my man Aaron did here. And gentlemen, as we always say, when in the moment of insight, take massive action. And we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.